Hey everyone, what's happening? How are you doing? Welcome back to the Vegan Champion Podcast. My name is Jason Fonger and I host this podcast because there are so many awesome people doing very cool things within the vegan movement and I want to share them with you. So look, I've been vegan since 2010 and I have to say that now in 2019, the amount of vegan options available at my fingertips is on a whole other level. We've still got a long way to go though, and it can still be challenging, especially for people who are new to the lifestyle or who may be traveling to find some good vegan grub. Enter today's guest, Dee Fancett. Now working full-time with Happy Cow, a website and app that makes it super easy for people to locate vegan and vegan-friendly restaurants. Dee plays a major role in making vegan food easily accessible to the masses. She also manages the website veggieinchiangmai.com, which is a one-stop shop for all information relevant to vegans living or traveling in Chiang Mai, Thailand, where Dee has lived for the past decade. When she's not making life easier for plant eaters around the globe, she's training for marathons, racing regularly, and is no stranger to the top of the podium. In fact, she won the international category of the Chiang Mai University Marathon just the day before we recorded this conversation. We talk about all these things and more in this conversation. Dee is awesome. I think you're going to like her. So settle into your sofa or your bicycle saddle or your running stride or your commute or whatever you're doing as you listen and enjoy my conversation with Dee Fancett. How's it going, Dee?
Good, thanks.
Welcome to the Vegan Champion Podcast.
Thank you, it's good to be here.
We are in a room here at Green Tiger House, which is a vegetarian, soon-to-be vegan hotel upstairs from Reform Cafe. The owner, Daniel, who's a good friend of ours, has been kind enough to let us use this room since, my apartment is got construction outside and planes going overhead, and the studio that I've been using is temporarily shut down. But this is the best we can do right now. But anyways, I think it's a pretty good setup. Good setup.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Dee, you have been living in Chiang Mai for quite some time.
11 years, just over, I think, actually. Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah.
So why are you here for so long? Where are you originally from, and what brought you to Chiang Mai?
I'm originally from England, just outside London, and I originally came here just for work, to work as a teacher, which I was doing for 10 years in the same school. And I just got used to living here. It's just such a great city to live in, Chiang Mai, and of course the vegan scene and the running scene and everything like that just makes it a really, really great place to live.
When you first came out, did you intend on staying for as long
No.
as... Yeah.
No, I thought I would be here for a year or two, but
Same.
you just get really comfortable, and then my whole life is here now, my friends and the social and the website and everything else that I do.
Yeah, same here. I remember when I first came out, I was like, you know what, I'll try. A lot of people say like, go teach abroad for a year, go live abroad for a year. It's like, yeah, I'll go for a year, and then like for me, it's been just five years and 10, 11 years for you. So yeah, it is easy to get comfortable out here, right? What is it that you like so much about Chiang Mai? I mean, you mentioned a little bit, like this is the city, it's comfortable out here, the running. Maybe go a little more into that.
The weather is a very big thing for me.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't enjoy living in England. So I love to be outside, but in England it's just so cold most of the year.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out. I just want to stay at home, and that's not life to me. That's not living properly. So, but here I just love the weather, and I just find that Chiang Mai has everything. It's a city, but there's just so much nature and around as well to see. But yet the city is big enough to have everything that you need.
Yeah.
It's just like that kind of nice balance.
And do you do a lot of, I know you're running marathons and running road races, and you said are you just getting into trail running, or how much trail running are you doing?
Yeah, I'm trying to get into it more and more because I really enjoy marathon running, but I think I've done about 20 marathons now.
20?
I think about 20, number 20 was the one that I did yesterday, yeah. But I know that I can run a marathon already, so I like to push myself to do something that's more of a challenge. So yeah, ultras, I think I've done about 4 ultras and quite a few trails. So this year I want to start to do more trails and try and get more into ultras, just because it's that extra challenge of, pushing yourself further.
What distances have you done for ultras?
I did the Doyenton Ultra twice, which was 50k all the way up.
50k uphill.
Yeah.
2,000 meters
so,
plus.
Yeah, not that much further than a marathon, but the hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did Pyongyang a couple of years ago, and
how long was that one?
That was 66.
66k.
And then last year I did CM6, which was 76.
Wow.
But both of them, I finished both of them, but they were really, really challenging. Those two.
I can't even imagine running that far. The farthest I've run is, maybe 30k, something like that, in a long run. But I'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're smashing it. And you're not just doing these races. You're doing really well. I see you're usually on the podium. And let's talk a bit about yesterday. Yesterday was the Chiang Mai University Marathon. Is that right?
Yeah. So that one was really popular because many people tried to book onto that race, but like the last few years, I've been trying to get onto that race for about 3 years now. And last year it sold out within 20 minutes of going on sale. Nobody knew that it would be that popular, and lots of people were trying to and failed to get onto it. So this year, everyone was, everybody I know who's running was like really right there straight away to get on it. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And it was really tense as well, because there was like some problem with the site and the credit cards wouldn't accept, and everyone was tearing their hair out over it. But I think most people that wanted to get on it did. So there was a lot of us there yesterday.
All the diehards got in. That's cool.
It was great. Yeah.
And how'd you end up doing? You did pretty well.
Yeah, I was first in the international category. They had an international category which I've never really seen before. So they just automatically put anyone who's not Thai into the international category. So it's you've kind of got a bigger chance of winning in one way, but they don't break it up into age groups. So
okay.
Yeah, so
so it's all age groups.
Yeah,
for
all age
international,
groups,
for non-Thai.
Category, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Do you know how you placed if you include all the Thais?
I would have been, in my age group, I would have been around third.
Okay,
but
nice.
in the international one, I was first.
Yeah, first overall. So of all,
yeah.
That's awesome. And you've had a lot of races where you've been, up on the podium.
Yeah.
Doing really, really well. So keep up the good work. Keep up the training.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it went really well. Yeah.
And it is really cool, isn't it? The community here. I mean, there's a lot of running.
Yeah.
A lot of running happening. You go to the parks in the evenings, and people are running around, and there's trails. Like, I don't know how much training you do on the trails here on the mountain, but it's one of the great things about Chiang Mai, like you were saying, right? It's a good city, fairly. Not. I don't know. Would you call it a big city? I don't know.
Yeah, it's the right kind of size for me. I think. Yeah.
And then it's all those trails.
You've got everything just right there.
On your doorstep.
It's just so accessible. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do any cycling, cross training, or?
I do cycle, but not really on trails or anything.
Right.
I just do it to kind of break up from the running. I just think it's good to have like something else going on as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just running every day. So I just cycle for that. Really, I'm not really that good at it particularly. I'm not going to be entering any duathlons anytime soon.
No.
No, it's not really. I don't know.
Never say never.
Maybe. Well,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just all. It just seems like there's. Yeah, if you're active, for active people, Chiang Mai has everything, whether you're into like cycling, running, hiking, swimming, yoga, or just, everything, that it has it here.
Yeah. And of course, for vegans, it's pretty friggin' awesome, eh?
Yeah, of course, yeah, and the change that's happened over the last, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, because for many years Chiang Mai was just a really good city to be vegetarian, and there was so many vegetarian restaurants and so many restaurants offering vegetarian menu and everything, and vegan menu. But it's only really been in the last, or as you know yourself, the last kind of 2 or 3 years where it's now gone from no strictly vegan restaurants, and now there's 10, 11 or something.
Yeah. Restaurants that are strictly
purely vegan,
no animal products whatsoever on the menu.
Like Vegan Heaven, I think, was the first one to open.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah,
and Vegan Heaven would have been just over 2-3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And now they've got 2 locations.
Yeah.
And Vegan Heaven is sort of a sister restaurant of Vegetarian Heaven.
Taste from Heaven.
Sorry, that's right. Taste from Heaven. Is Vegetarian Heaven no, it's vegan. There is another vegan. There's Pure Vegan Heaven. That's
Pure Vegan Heaven.
So we've got 2 vegan heavens. And then Pure Vegan Heaven.
And then Taste from Heaven.
Taste from Heaven, which is vegetarian.
Yeah.
And then there's there's a handful of other pure vegan restaurants. I mean, Good Soul's Kitchen, Reform Cafes now, vegan.
Yeah, the actual restaurant is fully vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's others that have then gone vegan, like Freebird Cafe.
Are they vegan now?
Yes.
Oh wow,
yeah, they were
cool.
vegetarian for many years, but now they're fully strictly vegan. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And so you've sort of taken it upon yourself to create veggieinchiangmai.com, right? veggieinchiangmai.com, which is your website where tell us a little bit about, why did you decide to start that up and what's the site all about?
Yeah, I started it about 5 years ago when it wasn't quite as good as vegans, like I was just saying, it's more for vegetarian. And so it needed, I just feel like people that come here need some, like tourists and residents also, or people that are, here for a length of time, needed some guidance on, and there's so many places that offer this. It's like, how do you pick one, So I made the site just as a restaurant review site, as well as then just lots of other information on there, just tips and like language guide, map, and then about shopping and put the odd recipe in there and like all the other markets, delivery places, and just tried to put everything together into the one site because I just didn't find that there was anything like that available. And I just thought that because the scene is so big here, it was a resource that's much needed.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's sort of, you can go to, TripAdvisor, or like there's, Happy Cow, and there's other, which I know we'll talk about that as well. But Veggie in Chiang Mai is really nice because it's sort of like a one-stop shop for like, if you're vegan and vegetarian and you're in Chiang Mai, like there's just such a wide variety of, stuff. And even there's stuff you put on there that's not strictly Chiang Mai. I mean, occasionally you'll put stuff, from other locations in Thailand or even sometimes international stuff,
Yeah, because I travel a lot, so I just feel like I might as well put any, it's just like on the blog, if I've been in London, like I was recently, I write a blog about that, or if I've been in Vientiane, I did that one recently because a lot of people go to Vientiane from Chiang Mai.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I try to make it like impartial because everybody has their own thing that they're looking for. Like food is such a personal thing, and you can't, you're never going to agree with somebody else about somewhere. So I try to just make it like this is what this place is like, rather than too much of my personal opinion because everyone's got their own agenda, haven't they, when it comes to looking for a restaurant.
Yeah.
But I also like to give the restaurants a platform as well to promote themselves, so I always share stuff, anything, like any promotions that they're doing or new menu items, so I try to help restaurants like get out there that way in the community as well.
Yeah, and in addition to just the website itself, you've also got the Facebook page, Veggie in Chiang Mai, which is, you're always sharing stuff and keeping people informed about what's going on. So that's really great. And I do see a lot of the restaurants, sharing your posts and stuff. So it's really great that you're able to just help them get that bring that awareness up and give them some good online content. And your reviews, I find your reviews are really good that way in terms of just being, you try to be fairly I guess not biased, or just sort of giving a well-rounded perspective on the restaurants. Do you find that's hard to do? Do you find yourself like going to a restaurant and being like, I really don't like this, but I'm gonna try to give an objective review? How do you approach doing it?
Sometimes it is hard, but there's always, I just find that if it's a restaurant that's really focusing on vegan food, because I only put on restaurants, I only actually give them a page if they are either a vegan or they have a separate vegan menu, like a really strong emphasis on vegan food, then they'll get a write-up. And I find that if they're making that effort, then there's always something good to say, no matter what level it is. If they're making that effort to put in that effort to providing vegan food for someone, for us, then there's always going to be something good to say. So I just try to focus on that. And
Cool. Would you say, I mean, how would you compare Chiang Mai, because you've done a little bit of traveling, other places in Thailand and internationally. I mean, how would you say Chiang Mai compares to other cities in Thailand, other cities around the world in terms of, the vegan scene and stuff?
Bangkok is great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
And that Bangkok was way ahead of Chiang Mai in terms of like fully vegan restaurants, like veganery, May veggie,
yeah,
and all of that.
The thing I found with Bangkok though is that things are a little bit further apart.
That's very true.
A little bit harder to get around to some of
Yeah.
the places. Chiang Mai, I think what's one of the really cool things about Chiang Mai is just how like focused it is.
Yeah.
You can just throw a stone at a vegan restaurant
Yeah.
from pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Bangkok's awesome.
Yeah, and then where else in Thailand? I guess Koh Phangan Street Canoe. Yeah, everybody knows there. I've been there.
I gotta go there. I've never been there.
Oh, you should go. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And that's where, if I understand correctly, because I remember vegan heaven opened up, and then pure vegan heaven opened up a little bit after that, and I was sort of like, well, why would you do that? Like the name's so similar, but it turns out that restaurant is actually the second or third location. Like it's originally from Koh Phangan. Is that right? Do I have that
right? They have 4. Is it 4 or even 5 now? They have one in Phuket, one in Koh Samui,
Oh wow.
one in Koh Phangan, one in Chiang Mai, and
Wow.
so I guess that's.
I don't know. I think vegan area has 4 or 5 locations now. I think.
Yeah,
so
they just opened a new one, literally a few days ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. Vegan area is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
And but yeah, those are probably the only 2, I guess, chains that we could say that are like have that many different locations. Well, there's a few vegan heavens, but yeah. So Koh Phangan. Anywhere else in Thailand or outside of Thailand that you've been that is?
Outside of Thailand, around Southeast Asia, Taipei.
Taipei, I've heard that.
It was great.
I've heard that.
Really, really good. Yeah, I loved it there.
It's supposed to be good cycling too in Taiwan.
Yeah.
A bit of a cycling culture here.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
Really
And
good food.
what about back in England? I mean, how does it compare? If I've never been to England, what's the vegan scene there compared to here?
Well, London's great.
Yeah.
Because you can get anything in London, but it's still it tends to be around certain areas of London. So like in East London in particular, like that kind of area, Shoreditch, Dalston, that's like the little vegan corner, there. But then when you start getting to the southeast, it's a bit, it's a bit less. Where I live, where I'm from, I should say, which is kind of just outside on the outskirts of London. I have to go pretty far to get to a vegan restaurant. But in England, the vegan thing is just really, really taken off, like so big that every chain restaurant is now providing like fully vegan menu, and they're just all catching onto it. They're all competing with each other. All these pubs have got like fully vegan restaurants. So wherever you are in England, it's so easy to find like not a fully vegan restaurant or even vegetarian, but almost anywhere where you are in England, you'll find one of these chains that are like really good for vegan food. They're providing as well. Yeah.
It's exciting times. It's good
Yeah.
times. Good time to be vegan. I mean, I know. Let's talk a little bit about your story. I mean, I've been vegan 8 years, and the difference now and 8 years ago is massive.
Yeah.
But I know that you've been vegan a lot longer than that, so it's probably an even bigger difference. Let's talk a little bit about how growing up. How did you? I know you were a vegetarian even from a very young age. So let's talk about that. Like at what age did you go? Like, are you vegetarian your whole life, or what?
No, I wasn't raised as a vegetarian, but I struggled to remember. But I think I was about 7, 8, 9, somewhere between 7 and 9, when I decided that I wanted to be vegetarian because I'd made the connection with animals. And I don't remember what triggered it, like whether I saw something or like what. I just remember that it was the connection. I knew that it was an animal, and that's why I decided not to eat meat anymore. I'm lucky because I know other people, that haven't had this kind of experience. But my parents they were just fine about it. They were like, okay,
supportive.
So yeah, they were really supportive. And then after that, it kind of became like almost a vegetarian like household growing up kind of thing.
Nice.
We didn't really have that much at home. And and then it went on till I was about 20. It took me quite a long time to then understand that vegetarianism doesn't really help anything. You need to be vegan. You know, it took me quite a long time to realise that. But I was about 20 when I became vegan. But the difference between then and now is just crazy. It's just so different, because then everywhere provided a vegetarian option, but it was always, you know, especially in England, it's probably the same in Western countries, you know, it was always cheese and eggs. That's how you make it more of a meal, right? If it's not got meat in it, it's cheese and eggs.
Yeah, when I went, because before I went vegan, when I was about 14, I went vegetarian for a few months for ethical reasons. And I just remember when I went vegetarian, I read about like the meat industry and stuff, and you read about the animals, and you sort of, it's obvious that that's what's going into meat, but it's not so obvious like what happens behind the scenes in the dairy industry or the egg industry. You know, if you're not really educated, you think, oh yeah, you know, you don't have to kill an animal to get its milk, and you know, chickens lay eggs anyway, so it's sort of easy to justify like that. And then from like a health standpoint, people are like, oh, you're vegetarian, like you gotta eat lots of cheese and eggs because you gotta get your protein or whatever, right? But so yeah, that's, I think, like, and from a culinary perspective too, people are like, oh well, if you can't eat meat, let's just give you cheese and eggs, right? So yeah, it's been cool to see that evolve. So you were vegetarian for about, you know, all your teenage years. How did you find that? I mean, I remember when I went vegetarian for that period of 8 months, it was sort of this, I read the liner notes to an album, like I remember very specifically, and I just didn't want to eat meat anymore. But then a few months down the road, I didn't have the community, I didn't have like the support, I was just sort of wanting to be like a normal kid again, right? And I think it sort of faded out of my mind, and I you know, convinced myself to start eating meat again, and just sort of put all the ethical stuff out of my mind for a period. And I guess part of that was looking for acceptance. So I guess my question is, like, how was that for you growing up? Like, were you always feeling like you were sort of an outcast at you know, to a degree, or?
I don't remember feeling like that at all, no. Yeah.
Not at all. So if you're at a well, I guess it's a bit, you know, you can still eat, you know, the cake at birthday parties and like stuff like that. Yeah. But you know, going out to going out to eat at restaurants and stuff, ordering vegetarian options, like that wasn't. You never got any, you know, anybody making fun of you or anything for that?
No, I don't remember anything like that, no. Because there was always like a vegetarian option, it was never a problem. Like,
yeah.
You know. I just remember it always being heavy dairy. Like when I was at college, you know, they had sandwiches, and I just remember it was always like cheese and pickle, cheese and tomato, just always like cheese. And like I giving up meat, I have to admit, it was not difficult. I just don't remember. I don't know what meat tastes like. I didn't really have it, you know, very often, so it wasn't difficult. But giving up dairy, and it was hard. That part of it was difficult, because that was the staple then. If you didn't eat meat, it was dairy, cheese. And cheese was difficult to give up, really difficult. You know?
That's what everybody says, right? It's like, no, I could give up meat. It's not that hard, you know. But like cheese, oh man, like don't take my cheese away from me.
I even went for a period when I first decided to go vegan where I did still eat cheese.
Yeah.
So I gave up everything else. I did it like in stages. I gave up drinking milk like a long time before, already switched to like soy milk. Because that was still quite easy to get. That was easy to get then, but just not in restaurants and stuff. But then eggs was never a thing for me either. But giving up cheese was the difficult one. That took me like a few months after.
What was it? So you don't really remember what inspired you to go vegetarian when you were at a young age. But what about going vegan? Like, was there like an event that was sort of a catalyst for that change?
I remember, going vegan. So when I went to university in a town called Totnes in Devon, and it was this really kind of hippie town. And even then, 20 years ago, it was very vegan friendly, and so I was kind of lucky in really the way I discovered it. And the university that I went to had all these amazing salads and everything every day, and in the canteen. And I remember meeting someone, another friend, and I'd never met a vegan before. But I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, because I'd started to learn about what you know, behind the dairy industry and everything. And I was like, oh, well, what do you eat? You know, so it wasn't until I met someone, and then she was like, oh, well, you know, I'll come over to my house and we'll cook some stuff. and then I learned how it's actually really easy to be vegan. And so it was just like, I approached her, you know, that's why I always try to kind of let people come to me, and then I'll give them the information, and you know, because that's the way that people find it. I think when you see someone else to be vegan, and you see how easy it is. Like, see someone someone normal just eating vegan. It's like, oh, it's actually a really easy thing to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so did you guys sort of become friends, like this person?
Yeah.
And just sort of gave you some guidance there.
Yeah.
In the early days.
And then gradually I met other people as well that were vegan. But originally it just seemed like it did. You know, I never met anyone who was vegan. I just didn't believe that it was. How do you do it? You know, what do you eat if you're hungry? Like right now in this cafe, what can you get here? You know, oh, I just have some chips and nuts, and oh, okay.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
And did you have any? I mean, you know, cheese is, they say, the case of morphines and stuff that's in dairy, and it gets concentrated in cheese. You know about that a little bit, right? So it is like there is like a physically addictive you know, property of cheese there. So did you have did you experience like a lot of cravings, or like how was it getting off of cheese?
I don't remember that. I just remember that once I'd cut it out, it only took a very short time for it to then turn around, and it just became repulsive to me. So back then it was Italian restaurants was the one place where you could always get a decent vegan meal. It was just so easy. You could, because they make everything fresh. You could always get like pasta with tomato sauce. I used to eat at Italian restaurants a lot back then when I first became vegan. And if they just put the tiniest amount of cheese on it, you know, it wasn't so much the ethical point of it at that point that bothered me, but I just couldn't eat it. If it was just like a little bit of parmesan or anything, it just turned my stomach. It completely went the other way. Yeah, it didn't take long for that to happen. It's like a few months after cutting it out, it just repulsed me.
Yeah. That's good. I think that's important for people who might be listening to hear, because I think, you know, there's probably some vegetarians listening to this or watching this, and I think a lot of vegetarians are in that position where it's like, okay, like I know that cheese is like unethical, or like, you know, it's bad for me or the environment or whatever, and like, you know, I want to be vegan, but it's just like, just can't conceive of giving up cheese. And like, there's so many people, you know, in that position. So I think that's, you know, can be good for people to hear that, you know, maybe you know, don't worry, it's going to be short-lived, that those sort of cravings and that those feelings around cheese.
People say that to me, like, I just love cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so did I.
Yeah.
Trust me, so did I. I lived on cheese. It was like bread and cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Any other? I mean, anything else that you would say to somebody who's in that position where it's like, you know, I'd love to go vegan, but I just can't give up cheese. Like, what advice do you give to those people?
I think the best way is to just literally go like cold turkey, or whatever you want to call it. Because people try to switch to the alternatives, which are great, and there's some great alternatives. But I think if you try to go directly from one to the other, you just think, oh, this doesn't taste like cheese.
It's not quite the same.
So and I don't think any of them really taste like cheese, which I prefer, because I don't want that. I didn't like it anymore, you know. I mean, there are some that are scarily good.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, right? It's, like Pureza, this place I went to when I was in London, a vegan pizza place, and they have like 4 different kinds of cheeses, and it was just amazing. Like, it's so good. But I think you have to think of vegan cheese as being something completely different, like a new thing in itself, rather than a replacement for the cheese that you were already addicted to, let's say.
Yeah.
I think you have to think of it as like a new thing rather than something to replace. But yeah, some good vegan alternatives out there.
So you'd suggest sort of going like
just taking a break.
Just taking a break. So no vegan cheeses, no cheese of any kind.
I'd say the best way is just to just have a break.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I can definitely see the value.
I mean, unless people already have a vegan cheese that they already know that they like, but otherwise I tend to hear people say like, oh, but it's not the same. It's not like real cheese. No, it's not like real cheese. It's never going to be like real cheese. That's why you have to
Never say never. These plant-based alternatives.
Yeah, well, yeah, they do make them good.
They're getting better and better too. I mean, the Beyond Burger and stuff. Like there's all this technology. Like they're a lot of people out there doing their best to try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, you never know. But I would agree with you. For now, it's not quite the same thing. I think that's a good point to sort of think of it as like a separate thing. Although some vegan cheese, it's still. I mean, for me now, it's like. Vegan cheese is cheese. Like that's like I don't I'm not attracted to non-vegan cheese. Like it does not appeal to me. And it really didn't it really didn't take that long to sort of get to that point after I cut out the cheese. That's just like I'm fine without it. But when I was eating it, it's easy to think, oh, I can never give this up. So that's good advice. So you went vegan, you gave up the cheese, and then at what point did you decide that you wanted to get into? Because I mean now with your website and stuff, you're very much about creating community and making it easier for people to be vegan. So what sort of how did that progress, or did you always sort of have this feeling that you wanted to help others to make it easier for them to live vegan life? Like where does that come from? Where does that start to develop?
Yeah, only really since living here. I think I was just vegan, and it was just my thing. I never really and I wasn't healthy vegan. I never went vegan for health reasons at all. It wasn't on my agenda at all. I used to drink, smoke, like it wasn't on my list of reasons.
So it was an ethical thing?
Yeah, purely ethical,
okay.
yeah. So it's only really been in the last 8 years that I've become more interested in the health side of it, and the environmental side of it as well. As some people get into it through that. Have we stopped?
No, we're still going.
We need to go back a little bit? Or?
No, it's all good. It's all good. We'll just, for people who are listening, that's just the camera cuts out every 20 or 30 minutes or so. So I just restarted the camera, but keep rolling.
So yeah, I think they're the main sort of 3 reasons why people get into it. It's either ethical reasons, and some people come into it from the environmental angle, and then of course the health reasons. But that's all come much later for me. Only really in the last. Since I went into running and that in the last 5-10 years maybe, that I've more into that. And yeah, just since.
Were you aware of it though when you started out? Were you aware of any health benefits, or was it not even in your mind at all? I mean, because some people are worried about that when they go vegan. It's like, well, is that healthy, right? So how much did you know about that at the beginning?
No, I had no.
Nothing. Not even.
No, I mean, I didn't. I had some problems in the beginning.
Yeah.
With restricting too much, and but that was another issue that was going on with me. I had some personal issues like self-esteem, and I used it as a way to escape, it was a control thing, and I just restricted to eating very, very little, and it got quite serious, and that's why I think, and I got over it obviously with help, but it lasted for about 5 years living like that, and so that's why I think we have to be careful when we promote or when we talk too much about these kind of diets that are other kinds of vegan diets, juice diets or coconut water fasts or fully raw or anything like that. I think we have to be careful, because for people that it's fine for people that are already vegans and they're established with themselves and they don't have a addictive personality or habit forming personality, but people can get drawn to it who aren't vegan for the wrong reasons. Because it's weight loss or that kind of thing, restricting. So I think we have to be careful as vegans not to promote that side of it too much when people do these kind of diets. That's why. And for me, to think about how much I restricted, I would only allow myself to eat a certain food every day, very little amount, and and then I've gone from that and being really afraid of certain foods, and I've gone from that. Now I try to limit oil and salt when I'm cooking at home,
Sure,
but other than that, I eat anything.
Yeah.
As long as it's vegan, I eat it, I'll try it, I eat anything. So I just feel like it gave me, going vegan, that actually gave me like the freedom, and I discovered so much more. I always thought it was a restriction to go vegan, but I think almost everyone would say this who's vegan, that it's actually the opposite. So you discover all these new foods. Like even just, I remember, just like hummus and falafel and beans and stuff that I would never have had any idea what to do with.
Yeah. So, before people go vegan, they're just eating the same stuff. I think vegans probably a more wider variety of foods than most people.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of what people think. Yeah.
So you said that some of this restrictive mindset around food. I mean, if we could explore that, I mean, a little bit. Does that was before going vegan, or was that as a result of going vegan, or
it was kind of overlapped.
A bit of overlap there. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, what was going on there? Was it like was it sort of an image thing, or was it like, were you overweight before, or was there something?
No, it was like I just had some self-esteem, like confidence issues when I was at university.
Yeah.
And it was like, I didn't know what happened to me until I was in so deep. I didn't know how to get out of it. It just became like a habit, and it became who I was, with like the amount that I ate at that time. And I got really sick and had to go to hospital for a while. And they said to me, and when I left, they said, "Oh, you can't be vegan." Of course not. You can't continue to be vegan after you leave here, or you'll never survive it. You'll never, and you won't continue to sustain this weight. You'll just go back, but which seems funny to me now, because I obviously didn't listen and then just went back to being vegan, because they feed you what they want, what they have to when you was in hospital.
Right.
And so looking back on that now, the amount that I eat, and eating everything, nothing is a restriction for me. So to go from that to what I eat now is.
I think it is an issue for a lot of people when they first go vegan. It's like harder to eat enough anyways. I mean, especially if you're eating like whole foods and like salads and stuff like that. Like, the amount of volume that you need to get the same amount of calories. So if you were already having some issues around your relationship with food before going vegan, or that was starting to develop already,
exactly.
And then when you go vegan, it's like it's even harder to get enough. So then that I could see how that would sort of take it to like a more dangerous level. I mean, if you're eating cheese and eggs that's what your meals are. If you're restricting, you're still probably getting more calories because they're more dense. But then to go vegan and then just sort of. So how did you? I mean, you leave the hospital. They tell you can't be vegan anymore. You go back to eating vegan. Was that were you in and out of the hospital, or was it like, at what point did you start to sort of?
No, not really. No, I then just continued to live my life by myself. I mean, without the help, I didn't need it anymore. And then it just became like liberating to be able to eat this vegan diet, and gradually I just got more experience with like any kind of food, and it just opened up. After that. Did
you see help for I mean your sort of attitude around towards food? Like did you go through therapy, or did you like get
for a little bit
help?
After I left there I did
Okay, cool. So that event sort of like was a bit of a wake up call, I guess. So what because I mean, this is not like, you are not alone in your experience, because there's a lot of people, I think, who walk a similar they have a similar path, getting into veganism, and people who are struggling with eating disorders. Like I had David on the podcast. I think David Don, German triathlete. You guys know each other? You don't know each other? Okay.
So, no.
Anyways, he spoke on. He was the first interview, so episode 2. If people wanted to go back and listen, he went really deep into his experience with self-harm and disordered eating and stuff. And yeah, I mean, this is something that, I mean, yeah, it's not only within veganism, but it is an issue within veganism. Like, there's a lot of people who have, certain restrictive attitudes around food, and so they start cutting foods out, and then they go vegan, and then they cut even more foods out, and they go raw, and then, it's sort of a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the tools that you found helpful in sort of creating like a healthier attitude around the foods that you're allowing yourself to eat and the amounts that you're allowing yourself to eat?
For me I guess it was kind of a gradual thing. I just, as I just started to to be more open to eating anything, as long as it was vegan, of course. And I just think that is the way. Like, don't cut anything out, and don't, times, intermittent fasting. I know it works for some people, if you're already established vegan, and of course it works for some people, but like, I just think it can lead to, like, because I have this thing of like only eating at a certain time of the day, and that kind of, I think it can lead to disordered eating when you go down that path of like being too strict. So I think it's just, you just have to let go of any rules that you've had previously, and just try to, for anyone like, in that kind of experience, just try to allow yourself not to have any rules at all, just eat anything that's vegan, and not to have any particular set time or set amount that you allow yourself. Just let all of that go, and then just try to, kind of start again that way.
But cooked food is poison, Dee.
Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah, that kind of, saying that kind of thing, when people say that stuff like that, I think it's dangerous. Yeah.
I think so too. Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm all for raw fruits and vegetables.
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I totally agree with you, that attitude of, that pure...
saying like an absolute no to something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, it's that purity mindset.
Yes, purity.
So that's something that I think it's hard though, because, somebody listening to that who's in that space where, for whatever reason, they are, only allowing themselves to eat certain foods because they're maybe they're afraid of eating rice because they think that it's gonna, mess up their brain, or they're afraid of, eating, other than within a 1 hour window throughout the day, because they're, they've somehow rationalized that, and then they hear you say, oh, just eat anything.
Yeah.
Well, how can they go from that to sort of opening up? I mean, do you have any ideas?
Just has to be gradual.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, obviously for some people it might work, and if that's what they've chosen to do, and as long as they're still healthy, fine. But for some people it can, it can lead to this, health problems, like too much weight loss, and and I just think it has to be gradual to get rid of rules like that, step by step.
Yeah, and I think people should not be afraid to seek help, and
of course,
be open with people around them. I mean, I know that's a big issue. There's a lot of people who have these these issues, and they just keep it to themselves, and they pretend like everything's okay.
Yes, definitely. So you have to be aware as well that you have a problem as well.
Yeah.
If you're in that kind of situation.
Yeah, and I guess maybe unfortunately, right? That's it. Sometimes it takes being hospitalized, or it takes a it's similar to like drug addiction, right? You sort of have to hit that bottom and sort of have that wake up call, and hopefully when that happens, you're able to see for what it is, right? And get some help. So that's awesome that you were able to get out of that place, and you're in a very different place today with all the running that you do, and there's obviously a very different attitude. We've been out for a few meals together, and I've seen you definitely can put back the food in a healthy way and no restriction. I have a similar attitude of just if it's vegan, like I'll give it a shot, for sure. I'm gonna try not to binge on vegan cake all the time.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's good to have some kind of limits, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
sensible.
Yeah, sensible limits. Trying to keep the oil low is a big one for me. I feel a lot better when I have low oil. Like if I start just slipping into eating lots of oily stuff, my skin starts breaking out, and like in my in my workouts, I don't have that same I don't know, clear energy. It just seems some people say they do all this ultra marathoning on high fat diets and stuff like that. I mean, have you ever experimented with any of that? I know you do sort of longer distance events. Like, is that something you've experimented with? Sort of maybe lots of avocados or nuts and seeds. Have you ever? So what are you eating when you're out on a run? Like, what do you consume?
If it's just a marathon, I don't tend to eat anything on the race. But beforehand, I'll usually like a high kind of compact fruit bar, something like that. Okay. Like concentrated fruit, something like that before I eat. Before I run, sorry. And
do you take in any like electrolyte drinks or sports drinks? No, just water, or not even water.
I don't drink sports drinks at all, or gels, or any of that. To me, it's like a chemical thing. It's like not natural food. So I just prefer real food. Yeah. So I mean, sometimes if they've got banana or something, I might have like a little bit of fruit on the way. But usually, I just don't bother. I just wait until I'm finished. But if it's a trail run or an ultra, it goes on for 18 hours.
Yeah, you kind of have to eat something.
Then
right?
you have to eat, yeah. But,
so what are you eating in those events?
Yeah, I just take like snack bars, like naked bars. Do you know them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Okay. Cool.
I think they've like fruit-bound bars that they have in Chiang Mai. I like those. And like maybe sandwich with like Marmite or something as well.
Sandwich with what?
Marmite.
Marmite?
You know Marmite?
I don't know Marmite. What's Marmite?
Marmite is in Britain. It's a very popular savoury spread.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can get it in Chiang Mai as well, actually, but it's very expensive. I think I don't know if there's a Canadian version of it. But it's like Vegemite they have in Australia.
Oh, I was just trying to think of that, because I think there's something similar from Australia. I actually tried that. Shane gave me a bite of his sandwich the other morning, Saturday morning after a swim, and it was it was good. Some people have pretty strong opinions about that stuff. Yeah. Like it's sort of a love or hate thing.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, so that's cool. So you have some of that during the
like bread sandwich, like just like carb stuff.
Yeah. So you're not doing high fat for that kind of thing. No. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I mean, it seems to work for some people. It doesn't seem like something that I don't know. I could see myself getting into. I mean, I've definitely done sessions before. Like after having a fatty meal, and maybe I'm just not adapted to it or whatever. People would probably tell me, but yeah, I find as a rule keeping the fat low has worked well for me. But then being open to having those cakes and cookies, I think is really healthy. Even though that there's a difference between healthy food and a healthy attitude toward food. If that makes sense, right? Just being open to eating a variety, but then having a healthy attitude towards what you're eating on a regular and what you're allowing yourself to have on occasion. Okay. And here in Chiang Mai, there is no shortage of temptations. Yeah. No shortage. Yeah. So let's get back to, a little bit. We talked about, you've got Veggie in Chiang Mai, your website and your Facebook page, which is great. Yeah. And you're also the Happy Cow ambassador for Chiang Mai, and working. I didn't know this, but you're working actually full time with Happy Cow now. Yes. So that's you've been able to. You said you've been here for 11 years. Yeah. First 10 years was teaching, and then so I guess it's only recently that you've become full time with Happy Cow. Yeah. And so for people listening, maybe somebody's listening to this and they don't know. They're saying, what's Happy Cow?
Sometimes I'm surprised at the amount of people that actually don't know it. But happycow.net it's a website for finding vegan food anywhere in the world. It has an app as well for your phone, and but if you don't have the app, you can still use the website anywhere. And we have, I can't remember the exact number, but thousands of listings. So literally anywhere you are, you can open it up and you'll find somewhere to eat. It might not be a fully vegan place, but we only list places that have vegan options on there. So it's a great resource. So really good for anyone that's traveling it's really useful, and it's been great for me. You know, you get to your hotel and you just open it up and say, oh, okay, there's one 200 meters down there, let's go and try it out. Like when I was in Taipei, it was just so much choice, I remember.
Or you can be prepared, and before you book the hotel, you go on Happy Cow. Where you're going, you check out the scene.
Check out the map.
Yeah. Book that hotel in the right location.
Yeah. So it's really good for when you're traveling, going to the city you don't know. Yeah.
It's cool though. There's also it's classified, like you can very easily see which restaurants are 100% vegan, which ones are vegetarian, which ones are vegetarian friendly.
Yeah.
And there's even a distinction for like bakeries and other shops and
catering and shops and supermarkets.
So Happy Cow, there's also there's featured restaurants. Like I always see, like, you know, this restaurant's what is it? It's a friend. So how does that all work with like the restaurants in a city and like the top 10 restaurants in a city? I mean, how does that? Because I assume that's part of what you're managing as the ambassador of Chiang Mai. Is that right, or how does that work?
No, I don't manage that. I just keep the restaurants in Chiang Mai like up to date, enter new venues. Well, anybody can add a new venue, obviously, but I try to just keep everything up to date with the restaurants. Like if they've got something that they've changed or they've moved their address, or I just try to, because I'm here, I try to just keep it up to date, basically. If they're a friend, it means they've got an account with us, with Happy Cow.
Okay.
So that's why they're always the friends, and so we give them. They'll always be at the top if they've got an account with us.
Okay.
And so it's usually only vegan restaurants that will be a friend. Yeah.
And how do you determine the top 10? Is that strictly just like, is there like, how does that algorithm work? Because, you know, there could be people listening to this who are, you know, owning vegan restaurants and stuff like that. I mean, what could people, you know, people who are owning restaurants, or, you know, they're trying to get their restaurant more visible on Happy Cow. How does that work? I mean,
well, it depends on, obviously, as well, when you've got your computer, your phone open, it will depend on where you are, that what's going to come up. So it would always show vegan restaurants first, and vegetarian restaurants, and then non-vegan restaurants.
Okay.
But it would depend where you are, so it's going to show you whatever's near you.
Oh, I see.
So it will show you the nearest, or even if you're on your computer, it's going to show you the nearest vegan restaurant that is to you.
Okay.
So, and then there is the top 10 vegan restaurants in the city, and like there's the Chiang Mai one I posted actually on my Facebook page the other day. That changes every day because it's dependent on how many people have favorited it, or how many people have liked it, or what the reviews are like. So Reform Cafe, where we are right now, has been steady at number 1 since I've noticed this top restaurants in Chiang Mai. Good Souls is usually number 2, which is the sister restaurant of here.
Oh, it's amazing food. Yeah. It's amazing food. Anybody coming to Chiang Mai, you gotta check out Reform or Good Souls or both.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, that's very cool. So, working with Happy Cow, I mean, how has that been for you in terms of, you know, I think that it's really cool that you've been able to. I mean, now you're full time, you know, spreading, you know, vegan, like you're working on veganism, like your work is totally, you know, you've been able to align your values of, you know, being vegan, which is obviously important to you, has been for a long time, and now that's your work, that's what you're doing every day, is you're very actively involved in like helping the vegan community. And I mean, Happy Cow is, I think it's one of the most helpful resources for people who are trying to be vegan. Like whenever I speak to anybody who's like interested in becoming vegan, or they're a new vegan or whatever, like I 100% of the time I will recommend Happy Cow, because it's like the convenience factor is so huge for so many people. Like so many people want to go vegan, but they just have this idea in their head that it's so inconvenient, right? And Happy Cow has been really
to prove
really great, to prove just to prove otherwise, and to make it really easy for people. So I think that's awesome that you've been able to, like, you know, now your life's work, like all the work that you're doing is really related to, you know, what's near and dear to your heart. So I mean, like, how has that been for you this past year, just being able to, you know, align all those things?
Yeah, it's been brilliant. This opportunity came up, and it was just too good, you know, too good to miss, to be able to actually work doing something that I'm so passionate about. So it's just, it's been brilliant. It's been very different to working in a school. Very different. Obviously, it's a big change, but my heart is so into it. I'm so passionate for this that it just seemed like the right thing, the right move for me. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who maybe are vegan but they're in a job that is not really, they're not super stoked about? I mean, how could somebody, approach trying to change their life so that they're, living a life that's a bit more in alignment with like what they're passionate about, like in terms of career? I mean, is there any advice that you give to people for that?
Yeah, it's a good question, but I think the more that you kind of immerse yourself with the community and because I was obviously volunteering as an ambassador for many years before I took on this job. So if you try to just make links, in the community with kind of businesses or whatever that you're interested in, and you'll find a way. You will find a way to do that. I think it's possible. Yeah.
I think it's
trying to put yourself out there, like trying to connect with as many people.
Yeah, like you did so much work for probably a lot of it for free, like just volunteer-based work.
Yeah, all ambassadors.
Yeah, the ambassadors just volunteer-based, right?
Yeah.
And so just to
I think we have about 400 ambassadors.
Really?
I think we're up to something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
many
awesome.
cities have an ambassador. Well, and people just do it because they want to do it, not because they're getting paid for it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just to put the energy out there into what you're passionate about, and I think that as long as you're doing it in a genuine way and you're trying to be helpful, eventually I think
something will come up.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the ambassador role with Happy Cow, you're still doing, but that's that's a volunteer thing.
Yeah.
So what is it that you're actually doing with Happy Cow? Like, what is your
editing the website?
Editing. Okay, so you're the website editor for
one of them. There's a team of us.
Okay, cool, nice. And do you have a background in tech stuff, like IT stuff? Are you is that
not
anything?
Really, nothing special particularly, no.
So why did they choose? How come you're able to do that job? Why did they see you as a good candidate for that? Just because of your work as being an ambassador?
Yeah. So and obviously from the website, doing my website, because obviously I edit that as well, and manage that as well.
Of course.
So that's obviously a lot of experience with that was very relevant to it. Yeah.
Okay, so that is. But I guess you're more on sort of the front end of the site then, not so much back end IT. Okay, sorry. So when I was thinking that you were doing more like back end, like IT stuff.
Not really.
No. Okay, so are you writing articles for Happy Cow and like editing articles?
Well, mostly we get new venues added every day, hundreds added every day.
Wow.
So it takes like a bit of research, probably around 100 a day, something like that. So they come to us, so it just takes like a bit of research into the venue and write a little description. And
okay, so when you go to Happy Cow and you actually see that restaurant like profile page, and that little
we create those.
Right, and then there's all the reviews that are user created. Okay, so there would be a lot of work to organize all of those restaurant descriptions for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of the main thing.
Okay.
I do. There's other little bits, the moderation I do as well. Yeah.
Give us some hope for the future. Tell us that the amount of restaurants is growing exponentially. I mean, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. And the amount that we get added, but obviously some of them are not appropriate, so we have to.
Okay.
Not every single restaurant that's added will be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, unless it's vegan or vegetarian, but most of them that come to us every day are veg options. If they've got a separate vegan menu, of course, that's great. Or they might even only just have that one option. But if it's somewhere where there is literally nothing else around, that's still going to be useful for somebody who might be in that place.
Makes sense. Do you have any figures? I would be really curious to know like the total number of vegan restaurants on Happy Cow. Do you have those figures off the top of your head?
You know what? I could probably find it quite easily, but there'd also be ones that have been removed or closed. I'd have to try to filter them out somehow. come back to you with a figure. But,
see if you could, maybe I'll put it in, I'll do like a post interview, blurb, just to close the podcast.
Yeah,
so.
sure, I'll get these.
But yeah, if there was some, like, I'd be really curious to see, because you always see these stats on like how quickly veganism is growing, and like people going, what percentage of people are vegan, and like they sort of compare that and give the growth. But I'd be interested. I think Happy Cow would be a really good like resource for that, if you could get some stats on like the amount of restaurants at least registered for Happy Cow, right? So that'd be cool to.
There are a huge number that are added every day, some of which are fully vegan, and that's a much greater number than the ones that are closing, because that's just like a couple a day maybe.
Yeah.
So,
moving in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, eventually I think there will be no Happy Cow anymore. I'll be out of a job because I think when eventually every restaurant, it will be the other way around. Like every restaurant will have a vegan menu. I think one day, of course, I really believe that one day it will be a vegan world and there won't be any need for Happy Cow anymore, because every restaurant will be vegetarian at least, maybe, or someday vegan. I believe we will get there eventually.
I believe so too. I don't know when it's going to happen, but people like us are doing what we can to make it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And I think before that happens, there'll probably be another, like you say, Happy Cow won't exist. There'll be another site that'll be like, what would they call it? What would be the equivalent if we're in like an almost vegan world, and then there's the sites for people who want to go and eat animal products? It'd be like, I don't know. We could probably come up with some terrible name for a site like that, but anyways. Yeah, so we'll let the listeners use their imagination for that. Cool, that's awesome. Well, I think lots of good insights there. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about before we close it down?
Just sort of one more point. You was talking about making connections, like the amount of friends that I've met through veganism, through blogging. Literally, like all over the world, like that's how I obviously met the owner of Happy Cow, is through this, and it's like making connections. I'm sure it must be the same for you as well.
Absolutely.
From doing Cube of Truth and everything, the amount of friends, like the social, it's the community is so big and so strong. I never would have met the people that I've met if it hadn't been for veganism. The friends that I've got in lots of different countries, and still now that that contact and see. Just through this community. I just think it's so amazing. Yeah,
it all started with that one person you met in university, and it's like it's gotten quite big from there. And same for me. I remember when I first went vegan, not many zero vegan friends, and now most of my friends are vegan. So yeah, very cool. Yeah. Awesome. Great. Well, it was great to talk to you, Dee.
Yeah, you too.
If you guys want to know more about Dee and Chiang Mai, you can go to veggieinchiangmai.com or check out the Facebook page. Anywhere else that people can find you on social media or online?
Instagram.
Instagram, Veggie in Chiang Mai? Instagram, Veggie in Chiang Mai.
And then just Dee Fancett, I think, on Instagram as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. Thanks a lot, Dee. Great chatting with you.
Yeah, great to talk to you too. Thank you for having me.
Pretty great stuff, right? I really enjoyed talking with Dee, and I think she's got a great story. Lots of important takeaways from that conversation to hopefully give you some food for thought. If you enjoyed hearing from Dee on this episode of the Vegan Champion podcast, let her know by leaving a comment for Veggie in Chiang Mai on Instagram or Facebook. If you're ever in Chiang Mai, Thailand, be sure to check out her website, veggieinchiangmai.com, and I guarantee you that it will take your experience of the city to the next level. Want to help support the show? Some of the best ways to do that are as follows. First, tell someone about it who you think might enjoy the content. They can find the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and many other platforms, including video versions on YouTube. Second, take a screenshot on your phone as you're listening to your favorite episode and share it on your Instagram stories feed. Be sure to tag me at the Vegan Champion Podcast so that I get to see it, and you can rest assured that you've put a smile on my face. Third, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, which is a massive help towards getting the show some traction on there. That's it. Easy. Doing any one or all three of these things only takes a few minutes, but it really makes a massive difference in terms of how many people will benefit from these episodes. So I really appreciate you doing that. Head on over to theveganchampionpodcast.com for all things podcast related. Check out jasonfonger.com to learn more about me. If you feel inclined to financially support the work I do, check out patreon.com/jasonfonger. Thanks so much for listening and for your support. Thanks to Dee for coming on the show. Thanks to Matt Chalmers for the music. Thanks to Cole Lajeunesse at Planet Convert for the podcast graphics. And thanks to the kind people at Green Tiger House here in Chiang Mai for letting us use a nice quiet room in their hotel to record this episode. Be well, everyone. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next episode, but until then, keep living like a champion, a vegan champion.